They might be self-aware.
Gary here, underpaid intro guy, currently sharing this payphone with a wasp's nest. Today on They Might Be Self-Aware, Hunter and Daniel discuss Trump deep-faking Chuck Schumer. Lucky Chuck, at least somebody thought he was worth the processing power. Then there's Sora 2, which lets you upload one photo, infinite use. And apparently we're debating whether AI can pump out Netflix shows now, which is hilarious because I've been telling my mom I'm one audition away since 2014. That wasp just flew into the receiver. We're sharing a mouthpiece. Very professional, Gary. Enjoy the show!
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
Mainlining the AI delirium on the Silicon Freeway. You must be listening to They Might Be Self-Aware. I am Hunter Powers, joined by
Daniel Bishop on the AI freeway where life is a highway. I'm gonna
find it. Where is that song from, by the way?
Is that before we're in trouble? Should we just play the clip now?
I've determined that where people know that song from is a good tell on their age. As apparently I refer to the older version. But you have kids, so maybe you refer to the newer version. Where is that song from?
I definitely hear it more from the movie Cars.
Yes, this is where I'm like, Cars? What is this Cars you speak of? Yeah, that's where everyone knows the song from now. Not the Tom Cochrane? I think he did the original, the classic, the real one, the real version, the authentic version before everything became AI generated.
Yep.
Everything is AI generated today. I don't know. I'm going to throw a curveball. It's not even on our agenda, but I don't know if you saw Trump was tweeting out some AI slop, and it really is AI slop of.
It was like racist overtures. There's mariachi music and stuff in the background, CG hats on people. Like truly, truly wild that the highest offices in our nation is like, it'd be fun to go ahead and post caricatures of like elected officials and so on.
I feel like 15 years ago, it would have been like a impeachable kind of a thing. Like, we're going to officially censure the president and turn our backs, like, kind of a thing. Yeah. And today it's just
Tuesday or whatever.
I
don't feel great about that.
And so it's so they have the political folks speaking a speech that never happened. And then they got, like an animated
truth type stuff here. Like
the animated sombrero,
which allowing fake things to be put out from official accounts, which has like at least something of a veneer of authenticity or allowedness or legality or morality behind it or something.
I bet a lot of people think that those politicians actually said those things. I mean, they know the sombrero is fake because it's animated, bouncing on their head. But the speech about, when we need to get these various groups aligned behind us that, yes, has all sorts of racist, either overtones or directly racist, however you want to interpret it. But I bet a lot of people that see that video think that they actually said that. And the part that's AI are the little animations above it, not realizing that
the whole thing
is very clearly AI generated.
Well, we have talked about that on this very podcast before, where we're entering into a post-truth society where the fact that someone did and said something has little bearing on whether or not the public record shows that, not just because you can remove things, but because you can insert things into that public record of, look, here's video of politician the people in power don't like doing thing that would be seen as bad or silly
it was Chuck Schumer. Yeah. That they animate.
Like, we're still in the early days of this. As much as I'm not happy with what I've seen, I also know that this is like kind of a sledgehammer type approach in the early days of being able to do these things. Now, imagine if you were doing a more subtle campaign over the course of years, as opposed to, I'm just going to, with a very broad stroke, smear my opponents. There's going to be more of that. and more and more and more. And like, I do think that there's kind of a point at which we say, I can't trust something unless I've seen it with my own eyes.
That's the thing. I think that this tweet, and maybe it was, but again, if you don't know, this was tweeted out on like the official White House account coming from the White House. This video, which in no way is labeled that this is AI generated, just in case you happen to think it's real. It is not real.
Posted.
Yeah, just posted. I think this opens the door for the next political season for purely AI generated videos to be put out there. And, we assumed you would know that it was not completely real. Like, there's no way we aren't going to see it. Again, coming out officially, you're talking about this more sort of subtle over time. We will subtly manipulate the masses. There's nothing subtle about this.
Nothing. But as much as you say no one's going to believe that this is fully real, yeah, I think some people
this video,
absolutely will.
I think
pretty real.
Maybe 50%, not 50, maybe a little high, but like 40% of the people that watch it, 30%. I would not be surprised if they think these politicians actually said those things. Because even I'm like, wait, did they? I was trying to understand. Did they say these things? No. Okay, then I'm like, no, this is insane. They didn't say this stuff, minus the little animations that are on top of them. So it opens the door. The door is open now, and
what a door.
No one's
generated door.
Well, and this isn't the first time that there's been accusations of leveraging this, the bombing of that boat, right? The drug boat that was coming to America that was blown up. I think you may have mentioned that there were numerous reports that something's a little off about this video. And maybe it happened and maybe it didn't happen, but the video itself feels a bit AI generated.
Yeah. There have been multiple other incidents like that, and it seems from the governments associated with it, US and Venezuela, like that maybe they are actually happening, even if that video itself might still have been AI generated. And we're getting into these weird muddy waters of maybe a real news event happened with. Now, granted, I've seen, and this was out of China some years ago, where it was like, here is a not AI generated, but like an animated reenactment of some sort of event. It was just like, here's a news story. And it was like, it was bad CG, like nowhere near photorealistic. But just to say, like, since we don't have footage of this thing happening, here is a reenactment of it happening. We've seen reenactments of events for which you don't have footage for every kind of media, really. Oftentimes it's with actors, and they'll say, like, this is a reenactment of the thing. It's not really the actual event. But that was like using CG. The next step after that is, of course, saying, here is the set of things that happened. Please, AI, make a video about it. Which I'm not inherently opposed to, but I still would like to have that little, bar at the bottom that says this is a AI-generated reenactment of something for which we don't have real footage. We won't be getting that, especially if there's, a motive behind not giving that information.
I think our government should be required to label anything that's AI generated. Maybe not private citizens, maybe not commercial companies, but the government. Come on, leverage it.
Feels like
at
a really minimum to agree with.
We got to label it. You're gonna, but both sides. Nobody. We can't go down this
side
path
versus the other. This is if you, someone who is in the U.S. government, are putting out an official posting on some U.S. government website or communications channel. Either it's real or you tell us it ain't.
Yeah. Yes. Common sense. How can you not agree with that basic idea? You can't just completely make stuff up and not tell us.
You think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
Yes.
Yes.
I know I wasn't supposed to answer, but yes.
Yes. Speaking of AI videos, I know it wasn't on our list of whatever's for today, but I don't care. Sora 2. Boy, we talked a long time ago about Sora and how exciting it was going to be and how it was going to change everything. And then we started, mostly me, kind of dumping on it because it wasn't terribly available and it wasn't really like as good as they said it was going to be. And then, like, I don't think nobody was using it, but I didn't hear of anyone using Sora, like, at all.
No, it wasn't good enough.
The attention and the open source models, WAN, and I don't know, there's a few other Chinese names that have like come out in the last, let's call it year, that make consumers able to do these kinds of things.
Well, Veo 2 really took its reins, like, and pretty quickly. Veo 2, which is a really good model. And I think the big difference, Veo 2, you could build, you could render commercial quality video from. The original Sora, it wasn't there.
Right.
In a really meaningful way.
Way past that. Even if Sora would let you do longer videos, it seems like everyone's kind of coalesced around about 10 seconds for your video generation, which is...
I think it's 8 seconds. Is it 10?
Depending on the maker, it's 8 or 10. And maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we get to that, Sora 2's out.
Sort of.
And, well, okay, fine. You have to get an invite code, and it's for iPhone only right now.
Yes, that's why I say sort of.
Boy, am I sore about that.
It's pretty funny. I'm laughing.
All right, thank you. Great. Yeah.
I'm laughing. Wait.
You left in the entire pause. I am upset, but Hunter, you got in.
I did. There was
see all of the like videos on the site that they made for like, hey, Sora 2.openai. Whatever.
I watched their promo reel, which was very impressive. And in fact, I don't think this has been confirmed yet, but they put out a video earlier that was an ad for OpenAI, and there was a lot of speculation going on. Hold on a second. And it was a very well done ad. Was this ad made with Sora 2? Because Sora 2 has been rumored for a while now, and I don't think, again, it's been confirmed, but it probably was. Anyways, the promo reel is really great. Everything in there is AI generated, including mini scenes with the OpenAI founder, Sam Altman. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a commercial for the thing, and right at the beginning it says everything you're about to see was made with Sora 2, and then it's like an interview with Sam Altman, and it looks just like, and I'm like, wait, everything, even this? I literally went back to the beginning of the video to make sure it said everything you're about to see is AI. Astonished.
And that's one of its key features is they call it cameo, where you can put real people into it. And also you can share. So for example, if I make a cameo with myself, I could share it with you and you would then have access to me to put into your videos after.
And you can, very, very importantly, you can also revoke the ability for other people to use.
I would probably let you have it for like 10 seconds and then it'd be, nope.
Have that feature for a week. Get it while you can, because there's no way people aren't putting every celebrity into that thing right now without their intent and permission. There's no way that feature is going to stay, right?
Well, at present, what OpenAI has said, as far as the material that it's training on and its general approach to copyright within this, is you have to explicitly ask them to not have your material be included. By default, everything is there. But that they do have a process for you asking. And there's no even attempt at, no, we didn't train on any copywritten material. They downloaded that.
Just saying, yeah, we did.
They got Zuck to forward his torrents over so that they could have an appropriate amount of training material.
I wonder if, like, not even via lawsuits, but just via that opt-out mechanism, sort of like a 5 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon sort of thing. One celebrity could say, you can't use any of my stuff. And then that just cascades like, well, now you can't use any of MGM's movies basically for like these 5 decades or whatever. You know, just like someone who's been in movies with so many other people that it just means we can't use any of this footage. But perhaps that's a problem for the lawyers to sort out over time. Still, I would be extremely surprised if this incredible iteration of this technology stays in its current form without getting way more lockdown for like literally a week.
So the quality of the video coming out of Sora 2, the video, I would say, is kind of indistinguishable from real life, where there are many examples where it is indistinguishable from video capture on the street. Now, importantly, this is an iPhone app. So when you're not viewing it on your 80-inch 4K TV and saying,
well,
wow.
I watched the videos on my computer screen, and it's a big screen. It looked great to me. So there's 2 things that really stood out to me. In the previous iteration, shall we say, everything pre-Sora 2.
The original Sora videos looked great, too, that they used to promo, and then we actually got to see the real thing. It's not the same.
Right.
Sorry.
Well, maybe you got the quantized version, or whatever. But for all of these earlier video generation models, one thing that I saw that I did very, very badly with, and people identified this early on, and there were lots of memes about it and what have you, are like routines of people doing ice skating or like calisthenics or gymnastics.
Yeah.
And like anyone where someone's like twirling around, boy, they sure didn't do so great with that. And then the videos being posted by Sora 2 look really good. Really anything with like fast motion. And for the first like couple of iterations of these, everything sort of felt like it was walking through water. But speaking of water, one of the promo videos for Sora 2 is a guy like being recorded by his friend on a cell phone or whatever, and then he does a backflip on like a stand-up like paddleboard, and it looks a tiny bit off, but barely. Like the guy flips and then the water and the board moves very like naturally. The guy doesn't twist into a weird ball in midair and stay there for no reason. The physics feel like they're getting a lot better for these. And I realize they're not programming in physics into the AI. There are physics programs out there that are used for, like filmmakers who are going to make sure that the cloth ripples naturally in the wind and that the wind blows right and that the ripples in the water are just right. But this is like a diffusion model that just out of, dare I say, whole cloth makes a video, and the adherence to how things behave in the real world is getting so much.
It's a very impressive release. It also introduces audio. The original Sora did not generate audio.
Right.
Veo coming from
was
Google.
The big boy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really impressive. And so now OpenAI is also generating audio, and maybe 5 to 10% better than Veo. The audio is still definitely a tell. The audio does not sound as good as the video looks. It's good, but it's not as good.
Yeah. I mean, it's not fully realistic.
There's a similarity too between, like, if you watch 20 different clips from, either a Veo coming from Google or Sora 2 coming from OpenAI, and there's this audio quality. It has this characteristic that is distinguishable, and you recognize it. And there's just a similarity across all of them. The voices sound a little similar.
I think it's purposely being made slightly robotic, like as a legal CYA sort of thing.
There is a lot of watermarking. The reason why I
say that is if you generate a video, and maybe since you've got access and I don't, maybe you can go ahead and do this. Try a video that doesn't have speech in it, but does have sound in the background. The sound, background sounds or music or whatever being generated sound immaculate. It's specifically people's speech. Now, partially we're humans that are evolved and trained through our lives to basically listen to what human speech is like. And so anything the tiniest bit off will get. But still, I think that it's not a tiny bit uncanny valley. I think it's purposely 20% uncanny valley or 10%, enough where pretty much anyone would listen to that and be like, there is something off about that voice. I bet it's on purpose. Because they can do other sound. Great.
Yeah, good point. Right. 11 Labs can create human voices that sound pretty close to indistinguishable. Why is everyone else so far behind if they're not artificially? Daniel just pointed to me.
This is a very narrow field, even if it is very wide reaching, that you and I cover. I'm becoming more of a conspiracy theorist about this field by the day. It's the lizard people that are putting the fake voices into the episodes to make sure that you can't tell. I do realize that there's a lot of assumptions from my end that aren't just like, here's my technical understanding. I think it really has a lot to do with like third order. They're doing this because this, which accomplishes this, which avoids that. But still, everyone's getting sued for everything these days. They'd want to avoid the lawsuits, and so they make the voices not sound quite like humans, so that whenever it sounds a lot like some famous person's voice, they don't get sued again. I think. I don't know.
So the other part of this release, and perhaps one of the reasons why it's an iPhone app, is they've tried to create kind of a TikTok-y competitor. There's this sort of social feed where you can scroll through the videos that are all generated on Sora 2. Meta recently came out with their, I think they called Vibes or something. Vibes. Also, all AI generated video that you scroll through.
Well, Runway has a similar sort of thing. Like they were, I think, the first. they were, I'm going to say, the second to it, as far as I know. So Runway, which I've talked about plenty, they're one of the video making AI things out there on the internet. I think they're very good. You should go give them a look if you haven't. And on there, they have like a TV or a channel or whatever where it's just like, we're going to just play clips that people have made. And maybe it's ones that have been uploaded on their site or whatever, but it's just like an endless stream of weird stuff that the computer is all thought up. Before that, and I don't know if we've talked about it on this podcast or not, there was someone who did like, it was, I think, an earlier version of ChatGPT hooked up to some software that would animate like Seinfeld type episodes. It started off as Seinfeld, and then there was legal trouble, and then it became legally distinct from Seinfeld. And then it got like weirder and weirder, and there was some sort of like concern basically of what was going on with this thing, because it kept degrading in quality but still being on for a while before finally kind of going offline. I think it did anyways. But it started off as like Seinfeld, kind of like I mentioned earlier with the Chinese like low quality animations. This was probably a bunch of canned animations and scenes, and it's just like use scene 14A and have this person walk from here to here, as they say, thing ChatGPT made. But now, like, so that was the first, again, that was just like 24 hours a day. So we've got that Runway, and now we have Vibes. Now we have OpenAI's TikTok style feed of people making very realistic style, engagement grabbing things.
I have no interest in watching these AI generated feeds. It's maybe it's kind of like in general, I have no interest in watching animation. There are exceptions when the story is in general. Yeah. I mean, I loved Rick and Morty season 1 and 2, thought they were incredible. So like,
really hoping you were going to say like a Studio Ghibli film or something. No,
zero interest. Great. Rick and Morty. Okay. Season 1 and 2. Great. After that, yeah. So like occasionally a piece of animated content, but there's something about if I think that no humans were involved, I'm not that interested. Just like I don't want to read things that were entirely generated by AI. I don't want to. Well, that's not 100% true, but it's mostly true. But I don't know. I wonder.
Even you, someone who's very enthusiastic about these technologies, finds fully artificial content to be somewhat abhorrent.
It's not that. I'm just not interested. It doesn't. It's like
maybe you'd rather see something made by people.
Yes. And there's some idea that because there's just infinite amounts of that content, that what does it mean to consume any of it? You've consumed nothing. If there is infinite and you consume some, you've consumed nothing.
I suppose so. You got to have your dopamine centers, going off for just a little bit because you saw something new and novel. But right, you didn't see anything real. I don't know what makes it real. Is it that human touch? And I think that gets really philosophical. But I also don't want to only see things that have been made just by AI, but at least as someone who's interested in like this industry and what's happening in it, I want to see some of it so that I can know what's going on. And
absolutely,
I'm much more interested in people who are using these tools, to make art. So like there's a subreddit for, Reddit, the social whatever media sharing site, and then subreddits as in like, here's that one specific thing that I care about. And there's one for AI generated video. And there's this one guy who's making these very surreal, I think it's supposed to be like Earth in a distant future where there's all sorts of like creepy swamp thing monster looking people. And it's like documentaries with them. And it was bizarre and interesting and compelling. And it was definitely at least partially done by a person, like who was helping direct it and stitch things together and like had this kind of overarching vision of this weird thing. I don't think an AI would have just made that entire thing on its own, especially as each thing was multiple minutes long. So it's a ton of clips that have been like stitched together to a coherent story. I liked watching those. Those were weird, and it definitely had like a human's touch to it. And I think a human to have made that entire series by themselves would have been way out of the reach of anyone but like someone with an entire animation department. So
Yeah.
That's neat that that kind of thing can exist. But I don't want to just watch a whole bunch of it was just a prompt and then a movie came out. There has to be a human back and forth in there, right?
Well, today,
Like,
I think that
a creative process. It's not a creation by saying "Let there be light."
Yeah, well, today it's just not possible. The AI is not capable of coming up with a television series. You talked about this sort of documentary where we're going to, I don't know, different characters. We're going to set something in the future and tell the whole story and render out the whole story in a compelling way. You can leverage AI to build this, but there's a human behind it who's working on story arcs. Again, maybe they're using all sorts of AI tooling to do it, but they're writing different prompts. They're tweaking things. They're breaking it into shots. They're figuring out how to prompt the various systems, generating different shots multiple times, selecting the best ones, editing it together. We're still pretty far from AI going from nothing to here's the first season of a Netflix series.
I don't think we are. I don't think we're very far away from that because
we're doing 8 seconds and you got to.
Apparently the average length of like a shot in most modern TV and movies is like 3 seconds. So if we can teach these things to edit, which of course we can, and as soon as Sora 2 is accessible over API, then we can take something like Claude now has, or Anthropic's Claude Sonnet 4.5 just came out, and allegedly that can be left for hours and hours to do complex tasks on its own. And we're going to talk more about that next episode. But for this episode, for the AI movie related thing, if you say most shots in a movie or a TV show are a few seconds, are under 8 seconds, and you have access over API so that you could have an AI call, we're going to do scene 17, we're going to do scene 18, we're going to do scene 19. And you also have something that can, via agents or otherwise, put together an entire script for something. And you have something with like a research mode where you can say, look at all of the movies and TV that came out in the last year. Now come up with 30 ideas that are going to succeed well in today's markets. Then pick one, then make the script, then revise the script, then split it into scenes, then put it through the API. Why aren't we a month away from someone, a month away from this thing being available over API, from someone doing that?
Well, one very large limitation of these AI video generators is continuity between these shots. Sure, you can create a shot list, but they're all going to be in subtly different locations, if not very different locations. And the characters are all going to be somewhere between subtly different from shot to shot to very different. One shot you have a mustache, the next shot you don't have a mustache, the next shot you're 8 years older and green. And the features like cameos, where you have one visual identity for a character, will certainly advance this. And there are people that are trying to solve this idea of, okay, there's one location where these scenes are taking place. But how it works today is you, in as much detail as possible, are describing the location as part of the prompt, in each prompt as part of the scene you're creating. But just like everything else, every single time you put it through, you get something different out.
And you say that like it's an insurmountable problem. It will be surmounted. And I don't think it's going to be very long.
I just don't think we're close.
It already is surmounted. It's not in just the call to Sora, for example. And I think we have yet to see how good that ends up being with like trying to stitch together multiple videos. But WAN, who I know that I've brought up a few times, they came out with something recently. So there was a new version of their video model. It's 2.2. I thought it was 3. Everyone gets stuck on like a number and then iterates on that for some reason these days. WAN 2.2. Big improvements. Wow, look how much better these videos are. More important and interesting.
So the big feature, just if people aren't familiar with WAN 2.2, is that you record yourself in a video, and then you could basically replace yourself with any other AI character in it.
So that's not WAN 2.2. WAN 2.2 is like a text to video or an image to video. But a WAN Animate, another thing that came out like a couple weeks after WAN 2.2, is character replacement. And so they have on their site, and I'll share it with you. I don't know if you've actually seen this yet, Hunter, is like there's a clip from the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, And they took one of the actors, and then there's just like a picture of Benedict Cumberbatch or someone, I don't know. And it's the same scene with the person replaced, and it looks seamless. So that's keeping the same background, the same shot movement within the shot, but replacing a person. And there's a few different shots of like who's being replaced with what. And they do it for animated movies as well. There's consistent like lighting and color type stuff in there. They show also their method against like 6 other competitors. This looks easily the best. So if you run a bunch of things through Sora and you end up with your feature length movie, but the people aren't consistent, as long as you're identifying which person is supposed to be which, do a second pass on this, and all of a sudden you have consistent characters. Granted, then you have backgrounds to worry about. Give it 2 months and when's going to have a when, animate background, consistent dizer or whatever. I'm excited and horrified about where the future of this is headed. And boy, we're getting there fast.
I think we're getting there fast, but I don't think we're close. I mean, what's your over under? So by the way, going back to the politics, there's new tariffs on any film that's made outside of the United States, I think, going on. But so Netflix needs to cut costs even more to keep up with the amount of content. So they've already kind of embraced a lot of the Gen AI stuff officially, leveraging it as part of their productions. How long before there is an entirely AI generated series that was basically the entire series generated from a single prompt? What's your over under? Because mine's like many years. It sounds like you're trying to suggest you're under a year.
On Netflix, I don't know, because right now you can't copyright an entirely AI generated thing. And so why would they do that? I do think, and basically just open yourself up to any liability of any of the lawsuits associated with the tools at that point. In terms of somebody releasing something on that subreddit that I mentioned of here's a half hour long, I hit go and came up with an entire thing, less than a year.
Yeah, but I feel like that won't be anywhere near the quality of, and that's a pretty low bar, a Netflix series. Sure, you can build crap today, and you'll be able to build crap a year from today as well.
No, I don't think it's going to be crap. I think it's going to be like, let us not say it's the best that a human could create.
No,
sort of
Netflix
like
quality.
There are large language model leaderboards, and chat GPTs like, GPT 3.5 way long ago, 2 whole years ago at this point. That wasn't better than most people at most stuff most of the time. But there's got to be 1 or 2 extremely bad sitcoms that an AI could probably do better than.
Next, you're going to tell me that AI could generate a podcast. It's absolutely insane. The only place you can consume podcasts, especially about this incredible content, is by subscribing to They Might Be Self-Aware, now on twice a week. And available.
There's no replacing us for sure.
No, pretty much everywhere podcasts are available. You can watch a video version. Maybe it's AI generated, maybe it's not. We're not labeling it, but it's on YouTube. Listen to us. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever your favorite podcast directory is.
YouTube.
Where are we blowing
our longs and our shorts.
Hello, all our Overcast listeners. If you made it to the end of the episode, when I look at the analytics, the numbers on Overcast have been going up recently. So, well, hello.
Overcast.
Hello. Yeah, it's Marco Arment's platform. Little shout out there. But yeah, thanks everyone, and we will be back next week with even more.
They might be self-aware.